My next guest has been working to deliver aid to cities in Ukraine that have been the hardest hit by Russian attacks. Christina Katrakis is an ambassador at the Foundation for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. She joins us from Vorokta, Ukraine, near the Romanian border. Thank you, Christina, for taking the time. Can you tell us about your efforts to deliver aid to cities like Mariupol that have been completely cut off?
It's the most horrible thing ever, when you cannot actually help, and you hear the pleas every day. We have a hotline where people call us and write to us and ask for help, and whenever we can, we deliver, and we go to the hotspots where others fear to go. Our cars were shot in Kakhovka trying to deliver aid and trying to take people out of Kakhovka, and we have a hotline of drivers, simple Ukrainian people, they're not military guys or any special forces that just volunteer to take people out. And they risk their lives going to places like that. But the scariest thing is when you can't help, that's the scariest thing. Right now, for a number of days, the aid is still on its way to Mariupol. Yesterday, they were like 80 kilometers from it. They're moving really slowly, and they are still not getting to the city because it's totally blocked by Russian forces who are shooting civilians, bombing civilian houses right and left. So it's a disastrous situation. Today, for example, my closest friend in Ukraine was trying to escape from Kiev region, from the place called Makariv, and they were traveling with like 10 cars, and the Russian soldiers just start shooting at the cars. She's left with a 1-year-old baby on her hand, and her husband was shot in the hip. So, and they're totally surrounded. She called me, and I can't help. And this is like the worst situation for ambassador and for the aid giver to be in.
Yeah, I can't imagine. What are you hearing from people in places like Mariupol when they're asking for help? What are they asking for?
You can't imagine. We have children, and in places like Mariupol, dying of dehydration. We're talking 2022, heart of Europe, children dying of dehydration. There's no water, there's no food, there's no electricity, there's no heat. I had people in Kakhovka without food in the basement, and the only food they got for days was the raw fish which they caught in the river and ate raw, because there's nothing. There's not electricity, no heat, nothing. And we hear stories, heartbreaking stories like that every day, and every day we're trying to help, and when it doesn't work, it becomes your personal grief. Right now, I'm here hit with a total crisis, total refugee crisis. Currently, we have 5,000 refugees from Eastern Europe in the little town of Vorokta, which was not prepared for an onslaught like that. And we're trying, we house them in sanatoriums and resorts here that used to be ski resorts and healing resorts in peace times, and now they're flooded with babies and pregnant women from Eastern Europe, from Eastern Ukraine, sorry. And we have no food, we have no water, and at night we have to shut the lights down. Sorry that's so dark because of the light masking for aerial attacks. That we were hit here recently as well in Yavoriv and Lviv and Ivano-Frankivsk.
So what is it like? So you're housing these many of these women and children in this town that just can't kind of house all these people, and you barely have enough food. How are they doing?
Well, for 3 days in a row, I've been crossing the border with Romania, trying to get all the aid that I could possibly master for people just to have enough food, to survive these days. And we're calling for any help and aid that is possible. We also need support with gasoline because, we're nonprofit and we basically do it all in our voluntary resources. But the number of people we're helping. I mean, the Greeks send us a truck of food from the island of Milos. The Italians send us a truck of food. The Germans did the same. We had several buses from Amsterdam. So this is actually, the response is very touching, but we need more, and we need it now. this is really a dire situation because there's no way I can even describe it. You can see on my posts on Facebook and Instagram some of the images that we are faced with on daily basis and what we are doing here. But it's just us, a small team of people against the crisis. I stayed here, I'm an American, and I chose to stay here with my family and a 6-year-old son just to try to do as much as possible and help, because I just cannot abandon people who are in dire need of help.
Christina, appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Thank you. Christina Katrakis is an ambassador at the Foundation for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. She joined us from Vorokta, Ukraine, near the Romanian border.